this lesson is all about piecewise functions. So the big question is, what are piecewise functions? Well, they're functions that are in pieces. For example, like this. In this case, we've got three different functions, and actually we've got this little dot down here too. So piecewise functions are when you have different functions represented on the same coordinate plane, just like up here, and none of the x values overlap. It may look like some of these are overlapping, but notice the open circle here and the closed circle up here. That means -1 on the x-axis exists only in this function, but not in this one. Okay? So that is what piecewise functions are. We basically do two things with piecewise functions. We graph them. A piecewise function is written like this in equation form. So it says graph y equals -2x plus 1 if x is less than 3, and x minus 8 if x is greater than or equal to 3. This piece here is our condition. So x equals 3, that's our dividing line. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at x equals 3. That's this line right here. Okay? And that's going to be our dividing line. So the first equation, y equals -2x plus 1, we're going to graph that one. So it has a y-intercept of 1, and the slope is -2, so we go down 2, right 1, down 2, right 1. Notice the open circle at the end of that line. That's because on this line, and on x equals 3, that value doesn't exist because its x is less than 3. Okay? So that's how you graph the first part. You're also going to take the next part, x minus 8, and you're going to graph that one. So x minus 8, so minus 8, and plus 1, plus 1, plus 1. And notice now that circle is filled in, because in the second part of that function, that point exists on x equals 3. So that's how you graph a piecewise function. Find those dividing lines, find those conditional areas, okay? Find your blockages, your borders, whatever you want to call it, and you're going to graph the two lines. There might be more than two, but you're going to graph the lines where in those places, those x values, those domain values that exist. Okay? The other thing that we're going to do is write the equations of the piecewise functions. In this case, I've got three different segments that we have to write the equations for. So we're going to do that separately. We're going to look at piece number 1, and piece number 1 is y equals -2. And notice that it's x equals -3. That's our border. Our line kind of ends there. So we have to make note, if x is less than or equal to -3, then we use the equation y equals -2. Okay? Then we go on to number 2, and that one is y equals -x plus 4. Okay? And it's between x equals -3 and 0. So write your equation of the line as though you had the entire line, and then you're going to write your condition. What x values is that line in between? We're going to do the same thing for the third one. So y equals x, or x plus 0 if you want, because the y-intercept is 0. And that's when x is greater than or equal to 0. The only thing left is to take all three of these conditions and put them together. And we write it like this. So y equals, we have a big bracket, and then we have each of the three pieces. And you notice we pulled them from our three different equations that we wrote. I hope that helped. Continue looking for more piecewise function practice.